everyone, and welcome back to Keeping It Together. My name is Bridget White, and I'm one of the co hosts here, and I'm joined by my friend Kate Dunn. Kate, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Bonjour. My name is Kate Dunn, and I'm originally from Mississauga First Nation in Ontario, but currently call Calgary area on Treaty 7 lands my home, where I live, work, and play, and do all of the fun things and the not so fun things as well. And yeah, I have a background in nursing, and got frustrated with the lack of balance that job let me have and ability to care for people and with people. So then I shifted to public health, and just like last week, finished up my doctorate. So, if you want to learn, there's so many opportunities to keep learning. So,
Congratulations, by the way.
yep. Thank you.
Just happened a few days ago. It's amazing. So, Kate, can you tell me a little bit about your experience during the pandemic? How was it personally and professionally?
Well, in a nutshell, it was complicated. That's for sure. Um, Personally, it was really hard because most of my family is anti vaxxers, and I'm the medical professional in the family. So I understand the balance and the need for immunizations and the need for science to be incorporated with other modes of wellness. So it really put me in the middle. So that was a really hard place to be, in the middle, trying to mediate between the sides of the family, and try to find the balance in those two perspectives. It was also really hard because my dad almost died from COVID, but he was in Nepal when he got sick. So then we had to life flight him back to Canada to get good care so he could recover. He's fine now, but it was such a humbling and terrifying experience to be in that place of losing people that you're really close to, and just being stuck in the middle of all that political and polarizing messaging and so many unknowns, and really being so aware of how media plays into certain things and really influences how people respond. So it was really stressful. It was not an easy time, that's for sure. And then professionally, like, we shifted to being working at home. I had just started a brand new project, and it was supposed to be almost entirely community engagement. And then, of course, we weren't allowed to travel or see anyone in person. So the whole entire project got shifted to being virtual, which was really hard as well, because I love connecting with people and learning from them and finding ways to shape health messaging that really fits into community needs. And so it felt like all that got shut down. And I had just started this doctoral education journey. So there was so many different things in the mix that it was really challenging on all of those layers. And something that I learned about myself through that really hard time was that when I would start getting really anxious, I would start like getting a shorter temper, being annoyed by like everything. And then I'd be like, wait, why do I feel like this? Like something's building up inside me. And I'd be like, oh, I haven't been outside lately. So that was during the pandemic, was the point in my life where it really became clear to me that if I don't get outside and I don't find myself in relation to nature, I can't cope as well with all of the things that we have to cope with in our modern life now. So that was a huge like breakthrough in my subconscious, I don't know, I guess like mental health, to realize that being physically well and connecting to nature and connecting to the land was so important, just so that I could deal with things and deal with life and do better at them. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that that was a huge thing that I also had the realization of during the pandemic, because I think a lot of us were cooped up inside, and it was not really on the forefront of all of our brains to say, "Oh, haven't been outside yet. I'm going to go out," when all these crazy things are happening in the world. He kind of put that on the back burner for a while. So, I wanted to ask you, when
Yeah.
you realized that this is something that was really important to your mental health, what did you do? What were the activities that you participated in to make sure that you were getting outside and being with the land?
Hiking is my favorite, probably because it's the cheapest, the easiest. You have to have the least amount of things to get out there. I also do backpacking and camping and kayaking and snowshoeing, cross country skiing, snowboarding. Like I do a bit of all of the things. I'm not professional at any of them. The goal is to have fun and to get out there and be well. Um, and I think that in the pandemic, like at first, I can't remember which order, but like at one point we weren't supposed to go to the trails. You weren't supposed to carpool. You weren't supposed to pretty much leave your neighborhood. And then at some point those loosened up, and then everybody was in Kananaskis. Like everyone was out there, and the trails were crowded, and people were not respecting the land or cleaning up after themselves, or and it was just really it almost felt violating to see people abusing the land in that way and not respecting it and not respecting the healing qualities that it can provide. I felt like they were just tromping all over it.
Yeah.
And so then I looked for more remote trails and more places away from the most frequently used trails and things like that. And did some mountain biking as well, just because you can get further off the beaten track faster.
Yeah.
And so there were ways to work around it, but yeah, I found myself a little bit frustrated that it's great that everyone's outside, but please be respectful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that actually brings me into my next question. In earlier episodes, we've explored how certain sports and outdoor activities, such as hiking and skiing and mountain biking, are predominantly colonized spaces. So, for example, Western hikers look at mountains and they view it as a challenge to conquer and then move on from, rather than a connection to the land and a connection to identity. So I wanted to ask you, do you have any thoughts on how hiking and being outdoors aligns with Indigenous values and perspectives regarding wellness?
Hmm, that's kind of a complicated question, partly because I love to conquer a mountain too.
We
But
all
I've
do. It's
noticed, yeah, I've noticed though that even though I might like put on the speed and really like push myself to make it to the top, it's not a race for me. I'm still really engaged with my surroundings. I'm still smelling and feeling and engaging with the land. I find that I touch plants and trees as I pass them. I'll talk to trees and rocks as I pass them, which I don't think anybody else does. And so I'm way more engaged with the process and the land I'm going through and the land I'm walking on. I notice flowers, the nature around me, the animals, the wildlife. um, I'm always the one pointing things out that people with me never notice. They're like, "How did you see that?" And I'm like, "How did you not see it?" So I think that even though I love a good hard hike and I really like getting to the top, I think it's a completely different awareness, and it's almost like decolonizing yourself. Um, so yeah, I don't know if we can decolonize hiking, but by decolonizing yourself, increasing your awareness, your reflexivity in that space, your ability to draw strength from the land, learn lessons as you're going, let your mind really be in that holistic environment. Because I've had amazing like self breakthroughs or like insights into how I should write my next assignment, or shifting my research in a whole different way, or how to problem solve an issue with my kids, all manner of things. It's just like, oh wow, that's exactly it. But all of those happen while I'm hiking. And I think it's that really engaging with the air, the water, the earth, the sky, around you, the wildlife. And there's something about being up high enough, like you're at the level of the eagles, and it just, you're closer to creator, you're closer to thin air, you're more vulnerable. You couldn't make it out of there without respecting the land. And I think for people who realize that and acknowledge it and have it be a part of the hiking process, one, I think they're safer hikers. And two, I think it makes you a better person internally, externally, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, all of it. It really helps recalibrate that balance that I think a lot of people in our modern rushed world don't take into consideration. They don't slow down enough to realize the value that that can bring into their life, and acknowledging that the power that it has. And always when I'm at the top, a lot of people like to do this before they start hiking, but to me, it's at the top. And I stop and I take time of being really grateful and reflecting, and I smudge or I offer tobacco and just be there in that exact moment in time. And that's really special to me. And it's something that I really look forward to. Like, it's not, oh, I got to the top, check mark. It's, I got to the top. This is an amazing place. The beauty inside, outside, all around me. And I take a moment to be so grateful for that. And then that's the highlight of the trip, not necessarily the conquering of the space. So maybe that's an approach to decolonize, but it has to be more yourself, because we can't really control that much of our environments anymore. But we
Yeah,
can control how we interact with that space.
right. I like that. Thank you so much. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the benefits of hiking because I've heard you say um, that during the pandemic, hiking kept you sane. It really helped you to feel grounded and, kind of put a pause on the outside world when things were very chaotic. So, obviously, there are undeniable benefits to hiking, such as exercise and getting outside, connecting with nature. But there are also many reasons to go on a hike that are beyond the physical benefits. So I wanted to ask you what it is specifically about hiking that keeps you well and how it builds resilience and mental strength or mental well-being.
I think it's one of the activities that when you engage in it fully, it really pulls all four of those quadrants of wellness. You can spiritually connect to your surroundings, to nature, to land, to yourself. It's really good at recalibrating emotional, because you can leave the city behind and it's just you and your feet just, going through that space. And so you can let yourself go deeper in processing things, and slowing your mind down, which is really good for emotional and mental health. Um, if I'm hiking alone, a lot of times I sing aloud. It's my strategy for warning the bears that I'm coming.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I also find that I revert back to hymns that I heard as a child, because they're so much more meaningful out in the wilderness, than maybe they ever were in a church setting. And to me, that's an important part of my hiking experience. And then the physical, like, there's nothing like erasing a very stressful week, like sweating it out and having sore muscles and really feeling your body work hard, pushing it a little harder. And then that amazing balance, and feeling like I accomplished something. I pushed my body to do something, and now it feels so good to sit. And I think that you appreciate going back to work the next day and sitting when you have sore muscles. So I think it's one of the few activities that really does balance all four aspects of our wellness. It's a really holistic activity. Um, and I think that a lot of people who just hike for the sheer physical purposes of it, um, probably don't get the same thing out of it. But when you know that you're going not just for a physical exercise activity, but you're going to regenerate and you're going out there to clear your mind and to de-stress and to reset the anxiety button for the week, it 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 does help, but you have to almost like tell yourself that this is part of the experience. Yeah, I try to go every weekend, do some sort of outdoor activity, mostly hiking, but yeah, if I miss it, I really miss it. Like I
Yeah.
can tell in mental health, physical health. Yeah, all like it's just like, oh man, I really should have gone.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to get back out there. I haven't been hiking in quite a long time, but I just know exactly what you're talking about when you say that it's not just for those physical benefits. And yes, it's great to feel sore the next day and know that you accomplished that, but it really is a reset button. It really does reduce your stress, and there is science that backs that by going out in nature and connecting with nature, you are pushing a little reset button for the week, and it really does recalibrate your body, your mind, your soul, everything. So I think
Yeah.
it's really important. I think it's something that everyone can do too. You don't have to.
Yeah, some people are like, "Oh, how do you afford the gas to get out there?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't pay for a gym membership." It's
There
probably
you
about the
go.
same.
It probably is. Yeah, it probably is. There you go. There's ways to get around it and figure it out. And even if you like, I know that I live a little bit further on the outskirts of Calgary, so I have access to a lot more trails near where I live. And I think that's a fairly common thing in Calgary, even if you don't have the resources to drive all the way out to the mountains. There are places that you can go within Calgary. They might not be the roaring mountains, but there are ways to go out and connect with nature and go to the river, or follow a path near your house, something like that. There are different ways to do it where you don't have to be as intense about it, and pack up all your gear and all that. There's definitely ways for people of various athletic levels, as well as levels of resource or access to
Mhm.
resources. There's ways to maneuver around those obstacles and be able to get out there. um, I wanted to ask you if you have any crazy stories from your hiking experiences.
Lots and lots. How much time do we have? Um, well, here's one that's a really good example, actually, of being in the right headspace. So there's a whole circuit of trails that go from Skokie, which is close to Lake Louise Ski Resort, and you go up the Lake Louise Road, which is boring. So, like, of course, I'm going to ride my bike, right? So, a friend and I rode our bikes with our backpacks up. We locked the bikes to the tree. Then we did our hike, and we were coming down after it was probably, I don't know, 8 hour hike or something. Got back to our bikes, hopped on, and I got down the road, I don't know, not even 3 minutes, and had a flat tire. And it was a great day, right? And I was on such a high of being out there, and instantly I let the frustration come back of like, oh my goodness, I was going to fly down this hill so fast and be right to the car, because it cuts off like, I don't know, 8-10 kilometers if you can bike. And I was frustrated and I was grumpy, and now I had to push my bike all the way down the hill. So I was like looking down, pushing my bike, just like, grumbling in my head. And I heard something, and out of the corner of my eye caught like a motion.
Oh
And I
no.
looked over, and about 5 feet from me is a black bear eating berries. And he looked at me right in the eyes, and I swear he smiled. And it was just like, all right, yep, I am in the wrong headspace right now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the reminder.
Yep. And
Oh,
I put some good distance between us, but like I started talking, and that's, what you're supposed to do is talk out loud so they know you're there. And he didn't bother me at all, didn't chase me or anything, but it was exactly the recalibration of, why are you complaining? Like, you're still in the wilderness. Enjoy the experience. And if I would have been flying down there on a bike, I wouldn't have even seen the bear. So I had like almost a nose to nose experience with the bear that I wouldn't have had if I would have been, in a rush to get out.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, lots of experiences that have included animals. Last summer alone, I saw 24 bears, and
Wow.
people, it freaks them out. I'm like, yeah, there's bears everywhere. But I've not yet had a terrifying experience. There's been some nerve-wracking ones. Been pretty close to grizzly bears quite a few times. But I think that, and I've had elders tell me stories about singing to them, talking to them in your Indigenous language, and they understand it. And I wonder that when you're in the right space, mentally, physically, emotionally, and mentally, all of those aspects, and you're in their space and you communicate respectfully with them, I really think that it makes a difference, and they're not as aggressive because they don't feel as threatened. And I think that we should approach all of the wilderness spaces with that respect, and then learn from that and bring that awareness back into our professional lives, because a lot of the world around us, people feed off of the vibes they get from you, vice versa.
Hmm.
It goes both ways.
Hmm.
But if you can bring some of that land connection, those positive energies, that calm approach to trauma and drama, if you can bring that calmness and that respect and that awareness of the relationships back into the city life, you can cope so much better. You're going to get so much more done. You're going to have healthier relationships, and you'll be healthier physically as well. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I truly believe that your energy, people feed off of your energy. I can sense it. Like if somebody comes home, if my mom comes home and she's bringing her, quote unquote, bringing her work back with her, and she's, not in the greatest headspace, you can tell right off the bat. I don't even have to see her to be able to tell. And so I've had so many experiences like that where it's just like you can really sense people's energy. And you were talking about how you think that the bear can probably sense energy, and I fully agree. Just like dogs, just like horses, there is science to back that they can read your energies. That's why they're great therapy animals. Not saying a bear would be a great therapy animal, but I still think that they have the same ability just as other animals
Yeah.
and humans can to, absorb your energy, feel your energy. If you are in an encounter or you're near the bear, that's probably why the bear left you alone when you walked past it. He was just like, okay, I'm just eating my berries. You're chilling. Now you're in a good headspace. Go about your day. We're not bothering each other. And I think
Right.
there's so much to learn from that. And I completely agree. Bringing that calmness to everything in your life is so important, and I think is something that people don't give enough thought to.
Right.
So I don't know,
Yeah.
something to think about. Something to think about. I wanted to ask as well, for those who might be interested in beginning to hike. Can you give any tips or tricks on how to begin, and maybe some recommendations for some specific trails that are a good place to start?
Probably the most important thing is to be prepared. Good shoes. Always bring a jacket and always bring water and food, because you never know what's going to happen. Um, I bring a lot of safety stuff just because I usually hike alone. So I have everything that if I had to spend a night, I could. And so for most people, that's not practical. They don't need all of that gear. But shoes, jacket, water, and food are probably very, very important. And bear spray here, of course. And I think being dressed well, knowing your route, and telling family or friend where you're going to be.
Hmm.
And I think by being prepared in those ways, you're going to have a better experience. Um, I run into people on trails all the time who have no business being out there. And it's not me judging them as city people. It's just plain and simply, they haven't taken the time to prepare. They have no idea what trail they're on. They're wearing sandals on a rocky slope.
Mhm.
Um, they have no water and it's, a 40-degree day, things like that, where the medical side of my training comes in and I'm like, you need to turn around and go back because you're a liability to yourself and others on
Yeah.
this trail. But for people starting out, don't let it intimidate you. Get some good shoes and just get out there. And if you're afraid to start in the mountains, then start at Nose Hill, start at Edworthy Park, Weaselhead Flats. Like there's lots of places here in Calgary that are very accessible and amazing nature and scenes, and you can still have a wonderful experience in these city spaces. Um, there's Facebook hiking groups that you can join so that you can carpool. There's meetup groups, there's Instagram groups, there's lots of groups that you can join. And there's different hiking levels so that you're not joining an advanced group for your very first ever hike. Um, and go on All Trails, download the app. There's a free version of it and do the research. Look up the trail, map out your route, know where you're going to be, and find the easy ones to start with. Look at, like, people put reviews on all of them. So be prepared. Like that's so important for your safety, for others' safety. Um, yeah, really important. And as far as trails, there's so many trails. And the easy ones are really crowded usually.
Mhm.
But Grassy Lakes, just out of Canmore, it should be opening again this summer. It's flat almost the whole way and really short and easy, but it's beautiful. Um, Gypsum Ridge, I just did a couple weekends ago, and I think it's only 3 kilometers out and back. It's steep, but it's a perfect example of just because it's steep doesn't mean you can't do it. You just slow down.
Mhm.
Take a break every 10 minutes if you need to, or just go really slow and just go steady. So don't let the steepness or the elevation gain scare you away, because the views on some of those short, steep hikes are incredible. And it's just as good as being at the top of one of the big mountains. Like Gypsum Ridge, the view down the whole entire Kananaskis Lakes Valley area is incredible. So that's a really good one. If I don't have much time, then I'll just go right out to Bragg Creek and some of the smaller ones like White Buddha. I think it might be 2.5, 3 kilometers out and back. There's like a little steep section, but again, it's just slow down. But it's close to the city, quick if you only have an afternoon. And I think it's the headspace you choose to let yourself be in, and you can get just as much re energization from a small hike as you can from a long 12-hour one or something.
Mhm.
So, but being prepared is the most important part.
Yeah, I can speak to that. I went on a hike this summer. I did an overnight hike to, I can't remember the name, but I'm gonna find it and I'll put it in the video somewhere. But I went on this hike and it was with a group of people and we were all super excited. Everybody's, we went on this big shopping trip to get the food for everyone. And I just got these brand new hiking boots that I got for Christmas, the Christmas before, and I hadn't had the chance to use them yet. So I was very excited to use my new hiking boots. And I put them at the front door, and we're packing up the car, and I forgot them behind. I made sure they were sitting right at my front door, and I wore my sandals because I'm gonna wait till I get to the base of the mountain to put my hikers on. And I get there, and I'm with a group of like 10 people, and I'm always known as the forgetful one. I'm always forgetting things, and so this just was really not good for my reputation. Just worsened it by a million. But anyways, we get there and I'm like looking all around the car for my shoes. Can't find them. And I look at all my friends and I say, guys, I forgot my hiking boots. I don't know what I'm gonna do. They just didn't know what to say. They just thought, classic Bridget. Of course, she forgets her brand new hiking shoes. And now she has these rubber sandals. I had rubber sandals that I brought. And luckily, one of the guys on the trip, he had already done that hike. And he said, and people do not do this, people listening do not do this. He said it's easy enough. You can do it. And luckily, like, I do hike not quite often, but I hike a bit. And he said, if you've hiked before, I feel that this might be an okay hike for you to do in sandals. Definitely not recommended once again. But I did the whole hike in rubber sandals. I'm dressed in all my hiking gear. I've got my nice hiking backpack on. Like, I was ready to go, except the shoes. I forgot my shoes and I was so mad at myself. But you know who was the first person to get to the top? Me. In my rubber sandals. I was like prepared.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was like, okay, if I forgot my shoes, I'm still gonna be the first person to the top. Again, it shouldn't be a race, but when I'm doing it with my friends, sometimes I'm a little bit competitive. So I'm like, I'm gonna make it to the top and prove to them that even though I'm forgetful, I can still win. So I got to the top and I got there first, and I had to do the whole next day going down, which was the worst part because I'm wearing
Yeah.
they're like the Birkenstocks with the two straps. So every time I
Mm.
stepped, my foot like slid out to like where the toes go. Oh, it was the worst. And it's still a funny story, and my friends and I look back on it and think, of course I did that. So never again. Never again will I ever do that. Horrible idea. Another one, 2 summers ago, I was doing another overnight hike, and I brought hike. This is why my mom got me new hiking boots for Christmas, because I wore hers that were a size too small, and I lost all my toenails when I got down from the hike, and I just completely ruined my feet. I had to go down half the mountain, or like a good quarter of the mountain, the next day in my bare feet, just in socks, because it was so painful. Yes, I can second being prepared is so important.
Yeah.
Be prepared, wear the right shoes, bring water is so important. I also didn't bring enough water on that trip. Anywho, I'm rambling now, but yeah, be prepared. That's the moral of the story. Um yeah.
And if like and there are supports available. Like there are groups that have extra hiking gear if you don't have the stuff.
Mhm.
Maybe some people don't know that if you have a status card, you can get a park pass and a Kananaskis pass
Yep.
without paying money. So I think some people don't know that. So there are things that can help us get out there because there's a lot of barriers for a lot of people.
Mhm.
But yeah, connecting, asking people, trying it, just get out there
Yep.
and don't give up on the first hike. You've just got to get out there and then try it again. And you'll find it. It's such an amazing place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more. Kate, thank you so much for joining us to discuss the benefits of hiking. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope you did too. And I hope everyone listening is inspired to go out and go for a hike. We'll leave links to information on all trails, other hiking resources, and also possibly a link to get the pass for people who are status members. They can get the pass. So we'll leave a link for that as well. And yeah, so if anyone wants to connect further about this topic, feel free to reach out to us on any of our social medias. And yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Happy hiking.